All right. So this was completely unplanned, but then again, so is the snopocalypse we've got going outside. So with that being said, welcome to Pop Goes the Zebra Snopocalypse. I am your host, Jeremy. Along with me, as always, is Jesse. Jesse, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just enjoying the winter wonderland that's been outside the house for the last 2 or 3 days.
Oh yeah,
Um, I actually went and finally de-iced my car, which took about an hour of just like chipping at it slow.
I've
Dude,
been
I
I've been
don't get
wrapped
how
up all
people up
day.
north deal with it.
I've been wrapped up all day. I don't deal with it. I just hide out inside. Oh, boop. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's actually caused me to be home from work for a couple days because our neighborhood has been a hockey rink. I've been watching cars just sliding going up and down the
Well,
road.
run
It's
out
just
there and deliver a good forecheck and see if you can't put one in the back of the net. Tickle the twine, brother.
2 minutes cross checking.
You cross checked a Buick. What the hell?
Oh man, I don't want to put any more dents on my Kia.
Oh,
I've already got enough to fix anyway.
they're
So,
not dents, they're battle scars, bro.
well, I bought it from my
Oh,
roommate who had the battle scars already, so I've inherited them.
hmm.
So, yeah. But how's the weather been up in your neck of the woods?
I have been dodging AT-ATs and fighting Wampas, as you can tell by my Jedi bathrobe. I've been doing all the things that you would expect the snow people to do.
Yeah,
We have anywhere from a foot to 2 feet, depending on what part of the region you look at, covered in
your
snow.
tauntaun will freeze before it reaches the first marker.
Dude, my tauntaun didn't even go outside. It took one step, looked at me, and said, "Screw this," and went back to bed.
You know what the internal temperature of a tauntaun is?
At least warm enough to keep Mark Hamill alive overnight.
It's lukewarm.
Yep.
Yes. Terrible Star Wars joke.
Yep. It's gonna be one of those
Uh,
episodes, ladies and gentlemen. But nah, we figured we'd do a special snowpocalypse episode, seeing as we have nothing better to do. Thank God we still have heat and clearly the internet. Because we got nothing much else. I dressed up last night. I went outside. I double layered everything, and I just started doing belly flops into the snow,
oh,
just for giggles. And I did a back bump onto the snow, and like I was laying there, and I was just kind of like, actually, save for the frigid cold on my legs and the snow falling on my face, this isn't all that uncomfortable. This has pretty good lumbar support. So like I'm trying to figure out how I can make like myself warm but lay on the snow because that was pretty comfortable.
see, you guys have got snow. We've got like an inch of ice and like
Oh,
snow sprinkled on top of it.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure
So,
we have. No, I think we have the same thing. The problem is we have 2 feet of snow on top of on top of the ice. You can't. You
yeah, I
have to
think,
dig to get to the ice.
yeah, you got to dig. I think where I'm at, I think we had maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow, but the ice is underneath. So, but
Mm.
the problem is we don't get that kind of weather very often in Tennessee. So, nobody knows what to do ever at
Well,
all.
clearly the right answer is get behind the wheel of a moving vehicle and drive.
Oh man, the amount of accidents just from I think the very first night was the exit that I live at. I believe there was like a 22 car pileup the very first night because nobody knows how to drive.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody else. Um, no, my one of my buddies, who's another patrol officer, does night patrols, and he came through there and he said, "Man, it was bad.
It was the brutal.
It was the brutalists. There's been cop cars and fire trucks flip over in the snow. I'm just like,
Yeah, go home.
it's
When
like you
when the
guys are the
people
one.
that are supposed to be saving you need saving, it's over.
It's like,
It's time to
good
rethink your evening activities.
Who do we call at this point? The National Guard?
Oof.
Better
Well,
than the Coast Guard.
I mean, yeah, they're more sea oriented. This is land oriented. I can see where that's the problem you run into there. You know.
Yeah, well, for
Um,
you, the Coast Guard.
for me,
You're up near the Great Lakes.
oh brother, I'm still an hour from that. So
Oh well,
it'd be the National Guard, more or less. But at this point, we'll just break out a sled and tie the dogs to it and just have a mush. You know, why not? Just, yeah.
that's actually something I really wish that I did. Uh, find a really good hill and a sled and just go,
So
just pretend to be in cool runnings.
so when we were younger, we didn't use sleds so much as we would get like the giant cookie sheets
I've heard that.
dude, oh dude, we'd zip down those hills like it was nothing, man. Just like, and you know, you can't really stop those things, so you got to be
No,
careful.
dude, you can't
And
even stop like
we
a
had
regular sled. You're just kind of on hold on for dear life.
we had this hill over by me at the house I grew up in as a kid. Like, it was a good sized hill. It was probably a good 30-40 foot hill poop. And like into the hill, they had like a little like couple cement walls coming out. They had, like made a walkway, and like they had like a little pantry or a bunker or something. Like, I don't know what it actually was. I think it was like a shed for like the dude's tractor, you know, his lawnmower. But in the winter it'll freeze over, and we would all like dare each other to take the cookie sheet and go down the hill because the thing's probably a good 3-4 feet off the ground, you know, of clearance. So you go flying over that thing, you could wreck pretty easily. It was pretty funny.
Uh,
Oh,
when I lived with my grandmother in like 2001, 2002, like that time frame, uh, to get into the neighborhood that had three cul-de-sacs, you had to go down this really steep hill, and we were on the hill. And myself and the other kids in the neighborhood, we all liked NASCAR at the time. So what we did is we got long cardboard boxes and drew them up like race cars. So when we went sledding, we were kind of like trying to race each other. And yeah, we would do that kind of stupid stuff.
hmm. Oh, there was that. Another thing that we used to do, this was when I was really younger, we would take the inner tube and we tie it to the back of the car, and we go driving around the little town that I lived in. You know, we're taking the corners unnecessarily wide. We're talking very not safe, and you know, that was something we used to do a whole lot. I remember taking the snowmobile out and driving around town, jumping over snow drifts and stuff. It's pretty
Dude,
gnarly,
it's a wonder how some of us walked out of our childhood like not
right?
completely destroyed.
Like, you know, not to be a downer, I hear about kids, you know, meeting an untimely fate over just some of these most random, you couldn't predict this in your wildest fantasies, right? Like, they'll die, and I'll sit there and go, man, that kid was just, you know, driving his car down the street, or you know, walking his dog, you know, not doing anything that you would call inherently dangerous. And you know, meanwhile, we're over here, we're having bottle rocket wars with each other, and we're throwing sticks of dynamite, and we're, you know, doing the inner tube thing off the back of the car and jumping snow. It's just like, how did we, how you know?
You know what? I thought about that like a while ago. It's like there were some really stupid things that I did. I should have been in the hospital for, or broken something, or
There's a
been
couple of
scarred for. And
times.
I'm just like,
There's a couple of times for sure I can count of. I should have bitten the dust and somehow walked out of it, but you know, whew. But yeah, like, it's just weird. You know, you talk about that it's like, we do all this crazy stuff as because we're just finding things to do as a kid. We didn't have the internet as prominent as we do now. We didn't have the video game set up. We didn't have video chat. You had to go hang out with your friends and find your own fun, and sometimes it wasn't always safe.
Jesus. Oh, street football. We would always play street football at the bus stop, and some of us would end up going to school like all skinned up and bloodied, and yeah. It's like, can you hear me?
Yeah, it just said my internet connection was unstable. Which, again,
yeah,
we're in a blizzard. We're in the aftermath of it. I'm sure that'll happen, but
yeah, I was thinking your signal's a lot worse than mine, I guess.
Which is weird because usually it's the other way around.
Usually it's the other way around.
As I say, more Dungeons and Dragons.
No, roommate's gone to bed.
I was to say, it's not your turn to be the dungeon master, is it?
No, God, no. No, I don't want that kind of headache.
Are you a level 7 mage elf with level 27 dexterity and the yo-yo of fire?
It's a level 7 rogue, so
sure.
Sure.
I would want my character to have a yo-yo, like that's just on fire.
So, I went into playing D&D with like the idea of like I'm going to take it serious to a degree, but I have to have my sense of humor with it. And,
as you do.
And of course, like I rolled my stats for my character, had really good stats, and one of the things that I could have was this cool little thing where you could shoot a poison mist from your hand, which plays into why I named my character Shackleford Gribble.
Pocket sand.
That is literally when I say I choose to use pocket sand, and everybody's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yep. Boop. Oh, I didn't clue you in on this. So I got the coolest thing ever for Valentine's Day from my girlfriend. It's a friendship.
You got the Tesseract?
Oh, I wish, dude. I got.
I thought it was the Tesseract.
I got this friendship light from my girlfriend. She has one, I have one. You choose your color, and what happens is if they hit their lamp, it'll send their color to my lamp, and you send your. It's just a giant tug of war thing, is what I call it. Oh, she just booped me, so I'm booping her back. We're having a boop battle. So I love it. I think it's hilarious.
I would be an absolute troll to Cassie, and I would just sit there and type Morse code the whole night just to wake her up.
It's not that responsive, but yeah.
Oh, see, that takes the fun out of it. Try sending Morse code messages or something.
Sorry, I got a text message.
A texting message? How unprofessional of you.
I never claimed to be one except for in the ring, and even there it's shoddy at best.
So right before we recorded this, I was actually watching it was the live stream of the footage that we recorded a couple weeks ago. Thank God for we'll edit it in post, is seeing I clearly know where something was wrong, and the cameras went around it, and I'm like, thank God. I was like, oh man, I hope that doesn't make it. It didn't. So it was kind of, I was trying to be very professional, but something had happened, and I had that momentary lapse of being a professional, and got back on track. But I was like, cool, it didn't make it into the final cut. So I tried to be as professional as possible, but what can you do? So anything else going on in your neck of the woods?
Not a whole lot. Just gearing up for that big interview we've got tomorrow with Warrior head honcho Steve Tortorello, the good brother himself.
I think that's going to be a fun.
Oh, dude, he's the best. I can't wait to make the introduction. It's going to be a good episode. I have some questions for him that I've never asked him, and it'll be a good time to ask him in front of an audience, in front of a person he's never met, in a complete camera environment.
Sometimes you'll get the best answers. You know, I we say that we're going to have like different guests, and I feel like we have so many connections with good brothers and good sisters. I feel like, man, we could really line up some banger guests, and
Oh,
I can't
I've
wait till.
we've
So,
talked offline about that. We've got a pretty good list going already of people we want to talk to, and can't make any promises yet. But if we get even half of those, this is going to be a banger starting here pretty soon. So yeah,
oh
the
yeah,
guests are coming. It's like this isn't going to be like the dragons in like the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones. We're not going to make you wait until the end to get to see the dragons.
so I never watched Game of Thrones, but my roommate and his ex-girlfriend did, and I knew what was going on because I could hear audible cues of like the horrific screams. I was like, "Oh, I know where they're at."
Yeah. Like I watched it. I was hooked on it pretty quick. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed with the last season. And I think that's why I haven't gone back and done the whole rewatch yet, is I'm still getting through some of the issues I had with it. That's not to say that that's enough it was enough to ruin the series for me, but it's just there is some stuff in there that I'm pretty certain that if it were me, I would not have done. But it's easy to armchair quarterback, you know.
Yeah, and I can see that because like I said, I didn't watch the show, but I knew what was going on from social media and hearing people talk about it and hearing the disappointment everybody had. And I'm like, oh, I know that disappointment all too well.
They did some
Be
things
it from,
right, but there were
yeah,
some things that needed to be done differently. It's not so much that
okay,
they did
so,
anything wrong; it's they didn't do it as
so,
right as they could have.
okay, so aside from Game of Thrones, let me pose this question to you. What piece of media were you so hyped for that when you finally got to it, be it a TV show, a video game, a movie, or something, and you got to the finale and you were just like, what, what?
You're
Go.
talking like game or show?
Game, TV show, movie, something you were so hyped for, and then you finally got around to it, either watching it or playing it, and you get to the ending and you're just like, ah,
Well, Harry Potter comes to mind right off the bat. I've just voiced my displeasure for the movies uh, earlier on in the series. I just can't with that. Um, I keep having that every time they try to trot out a Chronicles of Narnia. It's like they put all of their thought and effort into The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is actually the second book if you're going chronologically. Now, yes, I know it was the first book ever released back when C.S. Lewis was doing them, but if you're gonna do what Hollywood generally does, and that's do the origin story, you start with Magician's Nephew, and they never do that. They go with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Then if they make it past that, they go to Prince Caspian, and then they go to the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and they did that here with Disney 10 years ago, and I just went from with the first movie to with the second movie to in the span of 3 films. I was like, come on. Dawn Treader even has a sea serpent, a giant sea serpent, and you managed to screw that up. You know, how do you? It's the strongest book of the series outside of the finale, and you couldn't even get to that point. But as far as movies and TV, that's probably the ones that come to mind. I will say that, and I'm probably in the majority with this when I say it. The Resident Evil 3 remake that was dropped last year just did not meet my expectations and standards, because I am a deep-seated lover of the original Resident Evil 3. That is my game. At any given point, I could 4-hour that game if I'm just kind of taking it seriously-ish. And that game, like, I knew it was in trouble before it even seen the light of day because of how good they did the Tyrant, Mr. X, in 2. I remember saying that. I said, that's what Nemesis is. And that's what it's got to be. And then I was like, oh, shit. Because they can't make this any more terrifying. They can only replicate it at best. But they managed to somehow ruin that. They didn't even have that. The Nemesis showed up at key points, which was like not what he was in the original game. In the original game, he was at random, man. He followed you across the map. He followed you across the game. You didn't know which door he was behind. And then fighting him was a nightmare. Here, it was nothing. You just ran away from him. It just like I was so disappointed because I was like, oh yes, they're gonna redo Resident Evil 3. They're gonna give Nemesis a nice little upgrade. Then I took one look at him. I heard the stars yell, and I was just like,
That I have heard from so many people that that exact disappointment, and I never got into the Resident Evil games. I've watched people play them. I like watching people play them. They're great. I just don't want to play them myself.
I will say this. Um, I will go to bat for 1, 2, and 3 on the original PlayStation, and then you have to start putting something like this in me to get me
Yep.
to start giving the nod to games after that. Now, depending on what day it is, I may or may not accept Code Veronica, but probably not. I have even more divisive feelings about 4 because to me that was just Metal Gear Solid with a couple of possessed, mutants. And then I had to wait all the way until Resident Evil 7 before I got excited about the series again. I played 7 and I was scared again. Like I was just like, oh God, what's behind this corner? This environment's terrifying me. It's playing on all those little childish like emotions that you bury as you get older because there's really nothing in the dark, nothing lives under your bed. But you get into this game, it's like, well,
Well,
no, they're making those things now intentionally to sell them as weapons to foreign militaries. But yeah, 7 was where they kind of got me back, and that was pretty cool. So when they dropped the 2 remake, which I thought the 2 remake was fine, I thought it was like if you were, it's about as good as you could do on a remake. Was what they did for Resident Evil 2. Unfortunately, that screwed the pooch for the stronger character in Nemesis, and you know that was kind of my, if I had to pick one remake that I think is absolute pond water, it'd probably be 3. And
Yeah.
that hurts to say because I love the Nemesis.
Yeah, I have heard that from so many people. For me, replaying Mass Effect 3. Anybody that's played the Mass Effect series, you're so hyped going from 2 into 3, and you're like, oh, this is great. We're gonna get a great conclusion, and then we get that ending, and it's like the other games meant nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
it's just,
It came down to pick a color. It was literally pick a color,
yeah.
and there were fan theories that kind of like backed up certain decisions, and I buy into one or two of the fan theories that it makes the most sense to me, but I just, God, it was such a cop out.
you know
It was such a cop out. And then there was the hoopla about it, and then they had to go back and like make a extra scene to kind of leave it as like an ambiguous ending, and it's like, oh. And then we get announced Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
you know what, Jesse, I see the pain you're in, and I am about to hijack not only this episode and what we're going to talk about, but also your emotions. I'm about to make you feel better. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Okay. I could barely hear that.
What did that do for you? No, you couldn't hear that?
It was all like distorted to me. Damn it, I am trying to place that now. Thanks for making my brain like I'm an emotionally compromised individual talking about Mass Effect because it's like one of my favorite game series of all time and I'm like all old screwed up and now you're trying to make me think. You'll have to send it to me. Fucking. Oh man. Yep. 3 will always be my favorite.
So
Snake
yeah,
Eater
I have determined that is
be.
what we're talking about right now. That is what this episode is about, is because I just remembered you and I have had some back and forth
Metal Gear
meanings
fans.
about Metal Gear. So we're gonna start and end this topic, this conversation about Metal Gear. In fact, I am going to make sure that I title it as such before I go to bed. Metal Gear Zebra. It's what we're gonna call this.
or what's in the box? Snake. I don't know.
When did you discover Metal Gear Solid?
I discovered Metal Gear on PlayStation 1.
Same.
That was my first introduction to Metal Gear. Didn't really get into it because I was a lot younger at the time. Then I got Metal Gear 2. Absolutely loved it. I played the ever loving hell out of that game.
Yeah.
But when Metal Gear 3 got released, that was my jam.
Okay, you and I are going to have completely different experiences already. I'm seeing in just how we started and where we're at on it already. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and I had the original Snake Eater for the longest time, and then I got a copy of Subsistence, and it changed the way it changed the way that I played the game because I knew it like forwards and backwards where all the sentries were, where all the items were. And then I get Subsistence where I get like the European extreme where if you're spotted, that's the end of the game.
You're screwed. Yeah.
And I got so good at beating that game.
It became your nemesis.
It was. And to this day, like I have the HD versions on my Xbox.
Yeah, same.
And I've been meaning to go back and play through them, but I'm just like,
we may have to do like a playthrough episode at some point, and we'll discuss that later on. But I have thoughts and ideas already.
We can do it on a Twitch. We can do it on my gaming Twitch channel.
We may have to do that. For me, pardon me, as you said, I discovered it. I had like one of these. I bought my PlayStation used from a friend, and he gave me all of his stuff. I think I paid like $40 for it. He had a demo disc, and it had like a bunch of games on it, and Metal Gear was on it. And I remembered playing. I couldn't even get out of, because for those of you that have played it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And for those of you that haven't, I'll do my best to paint a picture. Your character starts out in an underground cave that is attached to an island that has a nuclear weapons disposal facility on it that you've been sent to complete a mission. So you pretty much you're in the introductory chapter, the opening, demo chapter, if you will. You climb out of the water and you have communications with your eyes in the sky, and then you just try to sneak past a couple of guards and get to an elevator in the back of the map, because that's a lot of what Metal Gear, at least to early on, was just getting through the map without being spotted.
Whose footprints are these?
Yeah. And it was, because you got to remember, I was coming off of Sega Genesis at this point. I was about 11 or 12 years old, all I'd ever seen was like side scrollers, you know,
Yep.
Mario and Sonic, you know, things like that, maybe the occasional RPG. Um, but I had never played 3D and, you know, with 360, you know, environments and things like that. So I was pretty new to that. And man, I remember I had the hardest time just trying to figure out how to crawl under the pipe to get into the actual level. And then of course I couldn't make it halfway through that little warehouse there to get to the elevator, and I kept getting killed. And I remember throwing the controller like, screw this game, it's impossible, you know.
Oh, I'm
Because
thinking
if
of
you
the
get
number of
spotted,
controllers that I have flung across the room playing Metal Gear.
because that concept was foreign to a lot of people. It wasn't get it, you know, you're used to the button masher, get in there, beat them up, kill them all, you know. Metal
It
Gear was the exact
it was a
opposite. It was
game that made
fight
you
as
think.
little as possible.
You had to think like what you were gonna do, because like if
If you
you kill or knock somebody out, you've got to hide the body. You can't just like leave it there and
Well,
take off.
at that point, no, you didn't. In
Yeah.
PlayStation, the bodies just did the little flash and they disappeared.
Yeah.
But later on, like in two and in three, obviously, and going forward, you had to worry about that. But dude, I remember I finally got good at it, and I started beating the demo, and I was getting into the story because you know, a character dies under mysterious circumstances. You're like, wait a second, what happened? And of course, that's the end of the demo. You got to go buy the game, and of course,
Yep.
the game is like $45, $50, and you know, 45,
Dude,
$50 in 2000 was a lot of money to people, and still is.
so
So,
let's do a quick little sidebar. How great were those demo discs of
oh,
like getting
wonderful.
you hooked on a game? I
Uh,
remember
it got me for Tomb Raider. It got me for Spyro.
Tony Hawk.
Uh, no, I never really got into those. Like, I liked them, but I never liked them enough to try to convince my parents to go buy one for me,
I
or
love
you
the
know, go
Tony
do
Hawk
chores.
games.
But like, I was into more of the RPGs, things like that. Final Fantasy. There was Saga Frontier, Legend of Dragoon, which I still believe needs a remake to this day. It needs a remake. That was a great story. It had great characters. It had great graphics. Let's up the stakes here. But
Okay.
anyways, getting back to Metal Gear. Uh, Metal Gear, I finally got a hold of that, and oh my god, it took me forever and a day to beat. Uh, I had trouble with the Cyborg Ninja. Uh, didn't have too much trouble with Metal Gear itself. But I even to this day, sometimes just because of the tank controls, fighting Liquid on top of Rex can be hit or miss. Just
Yeah.
depend. It's just one of those things. You got to get into the right rhythm of how to fight him, because if you break that rhythm at all, you're done. Because you know he's not operating on tank controls like you are. He's got a little bit more freedom. But yeah, man, I remember I played that game so much, so often. I played my fingers raw. So
Yep.
imagine my elation when I feel like I beat it once, and then like a week later I found out, or I saw the commercial for for Metal Gear 2. I just heard the telltale David Hayter voice. Right, get out of here. And I look up, and there's the Metal Gear commercial on my screen. I'm
You
like,
just had to go bink. Oh,
yeah, I had the
the
exclamation point on my head, and then they're like Metal Gear Solid 2, and I'm like, oh, I need a PlayStation 2. You know.
yep. Man, the PlayStation 2 really, that was, we got some amazing titles with PlayStation 2 when it first came out. It,
Hmm.
and I think I was in the majority of the people that like I was excited to play it, and you play the first half as Snake, and then you gotta play the rest of the game as Raiden.
Hey, so uh I hate to cut you off, but I actually have to pause this. I'm literally going to pause the video because I need to go move my car because we are plowing the driveway at the moment. So we're going to take a little pause for the cause. I don't know if anybody watching this will notice it, but I'm telling you, my esteemed co-host, that we need to pause this for a second because
I'm not going to move from the same spot, so I'll probably just be like a little.
Yeah. All right. So I'm pausing it now. Okay.
And
Sorry about that.
With the magic of editing.
Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that. Things kind of got away from us in terms of planning tonight. But anyways, I believe we were talking about I needed a PS2 and Metal Gear Solid 2 was happening. So I suppose we'll touch base on that and just kind of continue through till we get through 2, 3, and 4. So Metal Gear 2 dropped in the year 2001, which was an interesting time, obviously, due to all of the global world events, which we will not touch on for just the sake of it's been talked over to death for the last 20 years. Anyways,
Nobody wants to forget Dale Earnhardt.
Bro, I still remember where I was when that happened. I was in the basement of basement or living room, whatever. We were at my aunt and uncle's house, and that happened. I went, but that's another topic for another time. Metal Gear 2. What was your initial impression of Metal Gear 2?
I was really excited with how updated the graphics were, because the PlayStation 2, it was a whole new thing. Like, games could look so much better. Like, the wrestling games looked better, the racing games looked better, and to me, Metal Gear looked a lot better. You didn't have like the big massive polygons from the PS1 era. And
yeah.
I remember playing it and just thinking like, oh wow, this game is so detailed, and how well you could see Snake's footprints in the opening section of the game when he's walking in the rain and stuff like that. I was blown away with how detailed it looked. And the gameplay was fun. Like I remember it was not a very difficult game to figure out. And then I just really enjoyed it because it was a Metal Gear game.
Yeah, like right off the bat, obviously the graphics blew me away. I loved how clean everything felt and looked. The fact that you could you first play as Snake, and you could do the dash or you could do the dive and knock out enemies, and then of course, as we alluded earlier, having to hide the bodies, which I thought was a wonderful realism touch. Yep. That's always kind of been your thing in like movies and stuff. Like the guy will take out the guard, and then like nobody cares about that guard. Nobody's doing radio check-ins. Nobody's like, okay, we're missing Sergey. Shouldn't we go check and see if he's all right?
There's one game that really does that, and it's the Sniper Elite series.
Well, but again, we're talking in 2001. Games and movies were not exactly known for, and movies now especially are not exactly known for their attention to detail. And I thought that was a great attention to detail. Was that? Yeah, I loved the tanker machine.
And I also loved the fact that you had to shake down the bodies to get items, and then you could get the dog tags, and that was such a pain. Was like learning, I could collect the dog tags, and I always end up missing like one or two guards somewhere. Yep.
And they were like obnoxiously impossible to stick up or shake down or whatever. I could never get the dog tag to fall off the person's body. I had to stick them up and make them shake, and that I never really had success. And I'm sitting there and I'm twisting them and I'm turning them and I'm just like.
I would pick them up and drop them, pick them up and drop them, pick them up and drop them. That's all I would do.
And then maybe that's what I was doing wrong. But it's like in my head, I'm trying to maneuver this dog tag off of a person's head. So I'm trying to, in my head, just like, all right, turn them left, turn them right, But I remember, though, specifically later on in the game, it'd probably be about the third halfway through. Well, not even there. You for those of you who have not played, spoiler alert, I'll give you a second to click back. Spoiler alert, you do not play as Snake the whole time through. You end up playing as a character named Raiden. And he is introduced to you talking to the Colonel from the previous game that everybody knew. And the character of Raiden is trying to just sound like Snake, doing the Snake voice. And I was just like, and I'm playing, and like I hear this, and I'm like, he sounds different. Why does he sound like he's got laryngitis? That's not Snake. And I remember reading that was actually a big issue with a lot of players, is like they were let down that for 85% of the game you're not playing as your beloved Solid Snake, and you wouldn't play as Solid Snake again for 6 years, as it would be. You would not play as Solid Snake for a good long time until Metal Gear 4. We'll get to that. But
there was something there, going back to the little details, there was something, I forgot. It's when you get outside and you're crossing one of the platforms, and if you don't pay attention, the seagulls poop. Will be and you can slip in the poop. And I just thought the little attention to detail with things like that absolutely cracked me up. Or like there was a section where there was like a diner or a bar, and you could shoot all the bottles or the magazines off of the shelves. And to me, I was like, oh man, it felt so realistic. 2001. And it really helped to the game. It really helped me really get into the gameplay. But yeah, I wasn't at the time. I wasn't as heavily vested in the game series as I would be a lot older in life. So changing characters didn't bother me so much. But looking back on it, it's kind of like,
yeah.
I mean, they could have at least let people know ahead of time, like, hey, this is.
But if they did that, they ran the risk of giving things away in the story. So, like, on one hand, I get them doing that. On the other hand, I think it was kind of dirty to do. But at the same time, it was a necessary evil, heavy on the evil.
Indeed.
But then, like halfway through that game, I started going, man, I feel like they're just redoing the first game. Like this is really just so typical. You get a smash hit, and so you try to replicate the first game, and then you find out that was the whole point. That was the whole point of the game, which I just went, that's brilliant.
It's meta. It was ultra meta.
Yeah,
and
it was so brilliant.
I mean, it's been a very long time since I've actually played 2, because anytime I play a Metal Gear, I just go right to 3.
Well, so obviously you have a big hard on for 3.
I do.
So 3 comes out, and I'm excited as hell to play it. And then I sit down, and I'm like, wait a minute, 1964? What the hell? Like, it never dawned on me what they were doing, literally until you get to that interrogation scene where, with the revolver and the eye patch. I'm like, yeah, that's him. That's the guy.
It's one of the, like, it set the stage for the later games. And what appealed to me about playing Metal Gear 3, I have a fascination with the Cold War era, so like 50s, 60s stuff. So playing a game that was set in the Cold War era I was just like, oh, this is awesome, and I loved it. I hold 3 in like some of the highest regards for just like the backdrop for the series, the time. The gameplay was amazing. I thought the graphics were awesome on that one, and it's one I could play over and over.
3 slowly grew on me. It took me a little while, but I loved how much bigger it felt. I loved the fact that you had to hunt for food, that your stamina mattered. I thought that was another good touch. Yeah, you didn't necessarily have to hide the bodies in certain areas as well as others,
Not as
And
much, but
honestly, I loved this.
oh,
For whatever reason, that just popped me. I was like, Snake fiddles with his glasses just like a nerd. You know?
oh god. Again, there were so many little details in that game that were just mind-blowing. Like I loved the camo system. Like you had to
Yes.
change your camo to blend in, and I absolutely loved
Which is what a snake does.
the stamina system, the health system where you could like
Now,
dig out the bullets and fix your broken bones. I loved it. It was awesome.
there is a YouTuber by the name of Lord Quadros that did a Metal Gear Abridged series where he took like the video game. I'll send you the link later. He
Oh, I
took
want to
like
see
the
this.
game movies. He made a full-on series, game movies, and overdubbed them with his voice. He's doing the impersonations. Some of them are good, some of them are all right. He's just it's meta. But there's actually a line in there in one of them where he's talking about like overall I'm with you, but I'm not quite certain that I'm down with overly advanced AI systems running robots in the 60s, you know, type of thing, where they're joking about the fact, all right, it got a little, there's no way in hell they had that kind of technology back in 1964 ish, you know.
Allegedly.
I'm sorry, the hovering whatever, you know, you're crawling through the jungle, and the KGB units have like these floating. They're kind of like I liken them to
Dude,
like the hover patrols in Star Wars with the robots, where they're just on little bikes and they're hovering around with little
dude,
spotlights. I'm
I
like,
love those so much. I love those so much for the fact that if I had the sniper rifle, I could like shoot one of the engines and they would go tumbling.
well, yes, but again, they didn't have those in the 60s. They don't have.
Allegedly.
They don't even have those now. All right.
There's so much that happened in Russia that's still classified. It's like, who knows what they had? There was a lot of things in that game series that was based off reality.
Yeah,
The air
a lot of
the
it was.
aircraft that Snake and Eva used to escape was a real thing.
Yeah, the wig
The
was a real
SR7
thing.
the A12 ox cart having the drone on the back of it,
Mm,
that was a real thing. Uh, the fact that he calls the hind the first time he sees it, he goes, it's not like a hip, it's more like a hind. I mean, that was a
yeah.
real helicopter that was developed in the 60s. So,
Yes.
and the Davy Crockett was a
Which
real thing.
that's what I love about these games is they go out of their way to teach you something, whether you like it or
Yeah.
not. And you know, like, yeah, eventually you just start skipping through all the cutscenes and the codec conversations, and but if you sit back and you're just wanting to have like mindless, well, not mindless, but you just want good background noise, you could do a lot worse than the conversations and cutscenes from Metal Gear. But
Yeah.
the yeah, overall I liked 3. My love was 4. 4 was what really,
Understandable.
oh dude, like parts of that game hurt me, just emotionally hurt me. Parts of it were bad
Yeah.
soap opera, I admit, but you know, but again, we're talking about a series where the main protagonist dreams of a machine, of a bipedal tank that can launch a nuke. The absurdity of that being the ultimate weapon is beyond fathomable. Because first off, if it's got legs, we've all seen The Empire Strikes Back. What's the first thing that happens? You know,
Yep.
generally speaking,
Well, I mean,
you know,
see,
but I
that's
digress.
that's why I love the backdrop of the 60s. It was that whole it was it was impossible, but we're going to find a way to make it possible,
Yeah,
because that was like, hey, what's the best way to do this. That's
yeah.
why, like,
It
I
was
feel like some
it
of the
was
things
like the
that in the
moon
game
race.
are, it's the alternate reality.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of like the moon. It was mirroring the moon race between the Russians and America. You know, the
It
race
was
to,
right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what I mean was
63, 64,
the
65
game,
was
the
all.
Metal Gear 3 is what I'm saying is it mirrored that in terms of it was the race to who could make X weapon, who could do this first.
Yep.
Same thing, same concept.
And I absolutely loved it.
Um,
And it just
but yeah,
so
three
good.
three didn't immediately capture me, but it grew on me, and boy, once it grew on to me, it was like a good pair of blue jeans, man. I can always go back and play that. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
4 was the one that I was waiting on because the end of 2. A lot of people, some people don't know this that have played, but you play 1, you play 2. Those are pretty in sync with each other in terms of timeline. 2 happens, you're left kind of not really on a cliffhanger, but you want to see what's coming from this. And then they turn around and they throw you a game that takes place 40 years prior to the events of the game you just played. So you've got to wait a whole game cycle before you even get to the next part of the story you started. But which they had to do because
takes place in what, like 2005?
2009.
Yeah, okay, it was in that 2000 ballpark.
It takes place about 5 years after Shadow Moses, which was 0405.
Yep.
So it takes place 4 years. Yeah, the Hudson River 2 years ago. Yeah, so it was 4 years after the events of Shadow Moses, which was
Shadow
05.
Moses. Yep.
Yes, which we're going to obviously double back to that because of 4. But 4 happens, and it's about 8-9 years after the events of Shadow Moses, 5 years after the events of 2, and they did 3 because there was things that they needed to introduce that they had no way else of doing it. Plus, they hadn't come up with it yet. I don't care what they try to tell you; they were kind of pasting this together as they went. But they did the callback, of Metal Gear 3 to get to 4, so everything would make sense. And somehow, and they shoot in the rapid aging due to Snake's genetic makeup, which is a big part of the series. But Snake is old, and to me, he looked like the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, right down to the mustache. Take a look at old Snake, and then pull up a picture of Joel Quenneville, and put the bandana on him, and it's Joel Quenneville.
You're not wrong.
Oh, dude, 4. I'd always said that Metal Gear was a movie that you got to play from time to time. 4 was a movie. 4 was a movie. Noticeably though, the codec scenes were not as, I don't want to say prevalent, but they were not as available in terms of gameplay. Like you could still call in, but they just didn't have the same feel. The real exposition that would come in the codex in the games prior happened in the cutscenes. So that was neat. In a sense, but man, 4 and just the way all that goes, and some of the speeches in 4 is some of the best in literature, in my opinion, especially the one at the end in the cemetery after you finish the game. It all, life starts at 1, but this started at 0. And that whole speech, we're coming to take 1 back to 0.
Yeah.
And 0 back to nothing.
I'm kind of curious. So, out of all of the series, what's your favorite codec conversation?
I don't have a favorite. There are just some that really stick out to me. Naomi's revelations in the on the way to the underground hangar in 1. The presidential codec with Jack, where he's revealing that everything you see around you is just a big play put on by the Patriots. That's another one that just really goes down the rabbit hole. I can't watch them because just some of this stuff just really plays on some of my sensibilities, but in 4 uh, when you are learning the backstory of the beasts, of crying wolf and screaming mantis and laughing octopus and so on in Raging Raven, when you're hearing how they became what they are, some of those stories just really tug at the heartstrings. One that stick, when a raven cries, a man dies, but I think overall the very best, and it's not a codec, but the very best, like I said, it's either a toss up about taking 1 back to 0, or Metal Gear 3, she was a patriot.
Ooh, yeah,
The
man.
world will never know her story. They'll revile her as a hero, but she wasn't a hero. They'll revile her as a traitor and a villain, but she wasn't. She was a hero, a true patriot.
The first time I played Snake Eater, that one hit me hard.
I mean, it's given me chills just thinking about it, because we've worn that uniform. Now, and at that point in the story, these people had lost their direction and their belief in the uniform and the ideologies around it. But we took a creed like that.
Yeah.
So that hits us.
And it was. Now, see, for me, the codec that I really liked was a comical one. It's the one with Sigget in the box in 3, and that's always been my favorite because it was just, I guess, just the humor of like, man, I don't want to know what you mean. You should join me in the box.
It's in the box.
I love the whole.
Yes.
Like, Snake, what are you doing? I'm in a box. Why are you in a box? I don't know. Something just
feels right about it.
Something felt right. I thought it was such a. It pulled you away from the game for a moment. It kind of had a laugh and then put you right back into it. And I think that the other one was with Paramedic, and Snake's wearing the Gecko suit. She's like, "What are you wearing?" It's the Gecko suit. I remember it just being so funny and trying to find those stupid frogs all throughout the game.
That reminds me of the running gag in the game where if you catch a new animal. No, in 3, if you catch a new animal and you call in, she just starts getting angry at you because she knows you're just calling to find out how it tastes, if you can eat it or not. You just want to know if it's edible or not. I'm not telling you. You're just going to have to find out for yourself. I am so disgusted, just the absolute third degree that Paramedic is giving you.
Oh man, like I said, there were little things that would just it would give you that nice little bit of humor that you would keep playing.
Oh yeah.
When you find the Tsuchinoko, the rare snake, he's like, can I eat it? No, you can't eat that.
Don't do it.
Like, she has a lid. Like, I think it was Sigget, Paramedic, and Major Tom all have the freak out. What? You found the legendary snake? It's like,
yeah.
Can I eat it? Can I eat it? It's just, I love or the multiple ways that you could kill the end. There's like 3 ways to kill him.
You can kill him, you can sedate him, or you can do the PlayStation hack and fast forward your clock.
Okay, there's the PlayStation hack. There's the scene when he's on the dock, like way early in the game, that if you pull out your sniper rifle and you're quick enough, you can kill him.
Huh. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's it's when you're going down the river and there's a small little divot right before you get to like the dock where all the soldiers are at.
You know what? I've heard about that.
And you can get the sniper rifle then. Now you can do it one of 2 ways. You can shoot him and lower his health. So when you fight him, it's an easier fight. Or you can kill him entirely, and you're going to have to deal with the Ocelot unit once you get to where the end's at.
Oh. Well, they're nothing.
Oh yeah, they were a lot. It was easy to do that. I loved.
Sorry, Ocelot, but your men are absolute dog water.
Did you ever do the thing where you were able to capture the end's parrot?
Yes, I also killed and ate the end's parrot a time or two.
As you do. But have you done the thing where you
Tastes
let it go?
great. Yeah.
Tastes great. And it'll circle over going, Grandpa, Grandpa. And it's like, go away, stupid bird. Oh, there he is. Pop.
Well,
Man, I just like I haven't played it in a while, but I still remember some of those things so vividly because I played it so much. And I just that was probably my favorite part of the game was
oh, dude, the
doing.
sniper battle with the end is one of the greatest boss battles in the history of video gaming, in my humble opinion, just because
And
of how complex it can be.
yeah, and if you were smart enough to find the thermal goggles, it made it so much easier because you could find
True.
his footsteps. So like
Yeah.
I've done it the old school way where you just go around till you find the sheen of his scope, or
Mm-hmm.
I knew kind of played it enough. I knew kind of where he would be and just sneak up on him.
Yeah, we were dodging that sheen of the sniper scope before Warzone made it cool. That
Yeah.
that we had that trigger in our system long before Call of Duty
Anytime
got us.
I've ever been in a shooting game and it's like you get to a big open area, the first thing I'm doing, I'm
Sniper.
I'm looking on the screen like, all right, where's the sniper sheen? Where's it at? Where's
Yeah,
it at?
yeah, because we all know snipers ruin everything.
And it say
Um,
same thing in Sniper Elite. It there was areas they didn't tell you there was another sniper, and you'd get in there and you just see the sheen. You're like, oh, backing up.
yeah,
So,
but Metal Gear, like I said, those codecs and some of those speeches in monologues are some of the best in literature. I would put some of them up there with Shakespeare. I really would. I would put, as far as social commentary goes and story development goes, you're going to be hard pressed to find writing like that. It
oh,
just doesn't
absolutely,
exist.
man. Now
They're
now
a class apart.
this makes me mad that I'm not taking tomorrow off as well because now I want to fire up the Xbox and jump right back into Metal
You'll
Gear.
create a time paradox.
Oh, man, I
I
just
remember the first time I grabbed Diablo, especially Diablo 2, and I hear Paul Eiding's voice. I'm like, Colonel, what are you doing here?
it's man. I'm thinking I'm actually playing scenes from 3 in my head of just how the cutscenes alone, like I got to a point where I would skip them because I knew them by heart. But now as I'm
Right.
older, I really want to watch them just to look for things that I never noticed playing. And I just, it's such a good game. I can't sing its praises enough.
Yeah, which we say that, but we're not just gonna talk about 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've got to talk about it.
I couldn't bring myself to play it.
We've got to talk about it because it
It'll be you talking about it because I
it
could not bring
matters
myself.
to the point that it kind of takes a little bit of care, of a little continuity error, in my opinion, that happened with Metal Gear 1 and 2. Not Metal Gear Solids 1 and 2. Those were actually like the third and fourth games the timeline. Metal Gear actually started way back on like the MSX, back in the
Yeah,
80s.
yeah.
And they didn't really get popular like they are now or were until the late 90s with Metal Gear Solid, which actually continued off of those first two games. But you kill the same character, main bad guy, in Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. And there was always, well, how did that happen? How'd you kill him twice? Well, they kind of explain it in Metal Gear Solid 5. But Jesse, you said you're not going to touch it. I would say go play it because it is enjoyable. but it is not
But
complete. It is not a complete game. It's kind of cut and paste, but there are some good cutscenes in it. But and it kind of goes out of its way to explain why Kiefer Sutherland voices Snake in this one for the little
so
voicing he does. Huh?
so it's Jack Bauer.
It's somebody, but there are some good scenes there. It's just that the story is kind of and it doesn't really do much outside of it just says, okay, here's why there's two different you kill the same character twice. It's because he had a doppelganger.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I guess
he
for
had,
it is what it is. I just four I played, and I don't remember much of playing it because I only played it one time.
oh, I
Um,
play the hell out of it.
yeah, I guess it's just because I
But
was more in touch with two and three, so those were the two,
my
those are the two
hope
I played.
before Kojima and Konami had their falling out, my hope was that they were going to go back, they were going to redo Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2,
Yeah,
which who knows, maybe someday someone will put their big boy pants on and make peace and it'll happen.
do it
I
for the
know
greater good.
I know I have directly messaged David Hayter a number of times on that subject and said, look, this is what I want for Christmas. And, obviously nothing's come of it. I wish something would come of it so I could say I'm the reason why they made two more Metal Gear games, but I obviously there is not all as well in that happy little marriage between the creator and the main producers of Metal Gear. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I love, and again, 5 was not well received, and I understand why it was not well received. Again, it was a brave attempt. They tried some new things with it. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
But I just, you know, I can't say it's in my top 5. It's not in the top 2 or 3. We completely skipped over uh what was it? Philanthropy? Metal Gear no.
wait, are you talking about
Oh,
the one that was on the PSP?
yeah, Metal Gear
I know which one you're talking about too. I didn't play it because I didn't have a PSP.
oh, that was, and again that touches off of 3. It takes place like 10 years after 3, and
Yeah,
he's
and
still
it's
dealing with the fallout from the ending of 3, and it's really good. And I don't know why I can't think of the name right now. I'm looking it up just because it deserves
Peace
being
Walker.
mentioned. Peace Walker, yes, Metal Gear Peace Walker.
I
That
kept
was
thinking
good.
like it was something Walker, and I couldn't.
Yeah, Peace Walker is good. It's completely different than some of the Metal Gear games that you're used to because there's a lot of like comic book cutaways, but it's such another good, it's a good since 3 is your favorite, clearly. You owe it to yourself, um just as a lover of 3, to go check out Peace Walker.
Yeah, I've. You're not the first person to tell me that, and you know what's weird, and it was really jarring. I had Metal Gear 3 for the 3DS.
Uh-huh.
Trying to play that game on a DS was
Oh, you will have some
no
trouble at
mas.
first playing it on PlayStation, but go play it. I'm giving that to you as homework. Go play Peace Walker. You'll thank
Is,
me.
is there a port of it on a console, or do I have to have a P?
I know that they did like the H. It was on the HD thing. You had 2, you had 3, and you had Peace Walker, because that's what I have it on for the
You know what?
PS3.
I'm gonna have to check to see because I have the HD, but I think it's just two and three.
Yeah, yeah. Go check it out. You might even. I don't know.
I might. I'm. You know what? I'm trying to think if I still have my original HD trilogy or the HD collection for the PS3.
That's
So
what I have on. Go give that a go. I still have my 3 just so I can play, 3 and 4.
yeah, I mean, I'm
Which,
looking. I'm
if
looking where the
Sony's watching, I sure would love a port over of 2, 3, and 4. It might get me to buy a new PS5.
wink, wink.
I'm not even gonna wink.
Speaking of new consoles, I am going to have to get a new console because I want to play the Mass Effect. I've got to circle back to Mass Effect because I want to suffer and be miserable in 4K.
I can
I
just
just
go outside and suffer and be miserable.
I just so I'm trying to do I'm trying to replay through 1, 2, and 3 now to get myself like rememorized with how to play everything. So when the remaster comes out, I can go right back into it. But man, going back and playing Mass Effect 1 after all these years, it's just like, wow,
After all
games
this
have come
time.
after all this time. Uh, so
Oh,
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop when I play 3 because I'm probably going to play it up to a certain point and then I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to go to the end part of it because I'm just going to preserve the good times.
oh, you know it. I have not really um, seriously considered buying any new platforms simply because I blew through games way too quick, and there's nothing out there that I am convinced will keep my imagination long enough for more games to drop. So I'm perfectly happy sitting on my PS4 right now playing Warzone or Red Dead. I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder right now. I'm playing Red
Yeah.
Dead 2 and just massacring everybody right now. Like my biggest thing is it's rude. If I ride past you and I say, "Howdy, partner," and you don't say hello back,
Grand Theft Horsey.
rude.
That's I just consider Red Dead Grand Theft Horsey.
It is Grand Theft and Old West because
And
I
I
mean that's all
the
Rockstar seems to know how to make is
yeah,
Grand Theft.
the day that it came out, I actually went to a buddy's house and I watched him play it for 14 hours. And I
Jesus
was,
Christ!
that's the thing. I sat there the entire time watching him play and
I
just
don't
going
even want
like
to hang out with my old mama for 14 hours.
alcohol was involved.
Oh well,
Lots of alcohol was involved. But it was fun because like we were kind of going back and forth. I was helping him make decisions. So I was kind of like playing the game without playing the game. Q Triple H.
so
Um,
I did a bounty last night, and you had to go find this guy hiding out in the woods, and it was a low bounty, but I was bored. I was like, "What the hell?" And I go out there, and they want him brought back alive. I'm like, "Okay, no problem. I'll just lasso him and hog tie him." I roll up to his little camp that he's made, and he's got his wife and son with him, and his son's having trouble getting on the horse and riding the horse. And you got to be a man. You can't do it unless you ride the horse, type of thing. And I roll up, put your hands in the air. He's like, "All right, I'll come quietly. Just let me say goodbye to my boy first." I'm like, "All right." So he grabs the boy and gives him the hug, and clearly starts whispering into his ear. I'm like, "Dude." And then he even leans back, is like, "Just like I said, boy." I was like, "All right, mother trucker." They said to bring you back alive. And I happened to see his wife. I was like, they didn't say anything about her. And it was at that point I realized I'm a terrible human being, and this is probably why no one has ever seen fit to give me any type of real political power. And I can understand why, based off of that fact.
but here's the thing. That's a very Star Wars way to handle that.
Well,
That was a very Boba Fett thing. Like the bounty was for you, not for you. Just
this is the way.
this is the way. Okay, so how much did you enjoy The Mandalorian?
Love it.
Okay.
I actually put it out there on social media. I said to Disney, "Apology accepted. We'll consider 8 and 9 as a dead issue."
Yep. I have yet. I'm a Star Wars fan. I've yet to watch 9.
Yeah, God willing, I will have children one day. They will go through as much of life as possible not knowing that 7, 8, and 9 happened. Star Wars is 1 through 6. As it stands on the time at the time we're recording this, unless they come back and they do something to retcon that, 7, 8, and 9 never happened to me.
Yeah, I was so hyped when I went to go see The Force Awakens.
7 had all the promise in the world. I was like, yes, this is Star Wars again.
I literally walked out of the theater and there's a whole line of people. And I know they're like, no, spoilers. I go, it's literally a New Hope. It's literally New Hope. That's all it was.
Well, first off, Dick, they said no spoilers and you spoilered. So you deserve the disappointment of 8 and 9 at that point.
Yeah.
But
like I was bitter at that. I was just like, okay. And so I went into 7 thinking like, okay, are we doing Empire? Are we doing Empire?
Because you went into 8. Yeah. Well, they did try to do Empire a little bit. They did parts of Empire. Little bits. The splittings of the group, and then obviously the big, beautiful, open war at the end, you know. But the visually pleasing visual artistry of the big battle between all those spaceships and stuff.
It lost me with Leia in space.
Oh yeah, it lost me there too. Because like at that point you knew that Carrie Fisher had passed, and her floating off into space would have been fine with me. Pardon me. But then Superman right through I was like, no, God damn it. Why?
My friends that were with me can vouch for the fact that I audibly, and this will be one of the few times I'll probably say it, I audibly went, for fuck sakes.
Yep.
Really?
This is where
I just sat there
shaking my fist at the sky. I was like, all right, they lost me.
Yep. And I walked out of the theater and I said, I don't think I'm going to go see 9.
Yeah. Well, at that point for me, it had become kind of a tradition to go see the new Star Wars movie with the family in the theater. Just go do the thing, right? So I was like, all right. So we sat through 8. Let's go see 9. It's something to do. We know we're gonna dislike it, but it's a night out, and we went and saw 9, and I'm just laughing the entire time. Just the laugh. It's not a laugh of absolute, enjoyment. It's just that that coping laugh.
It's that Tony Atlas.
Yeah, the crying laugh. And like literally you get out of the movie and I'm walking out and I'm just biting my cheek because the little ones, they're wanting to talk about it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I want these people to be completely dissatisfied on their own merit. I get into the car and literally just go just start beating my head against the steering wheel.
So having this conversation with my roommate, he's much older than I am. His disappointment came in 1999 when he was so hyped to go see Phantom Menace. And he said he walked out halfway through Phantom Menace.
So I'm trying to feel like come up with the words because
now, looking back at Phantom Menace when I originally saw it in 1999 and being older, I can see where I appreciated it, but it didn't make sense. And there's the best things that came out of Phantom were Darth Maul and the dual-sided lightsaber, Duel of the Fates, which is like the most boss music ever. And for me, I love the pod racers. I just thought they were cool.
Wizard, right? But I will never, ever, ever put the prequel trilogy on a pedestal when I know that the original trilogy is there. Yep. That being said, I never hated them, but I recognize that they were leagues, it leaps and bounds inferior to what had come before them. But that's not to say that they weren't good. The problem I feel like society had with the prequel trilogies is that the first thing was they thought they knew what Star Wars was. They thought that Star Wars was A, B, C, D equals E, F, G. And what they failed to recognize was the thing that had been there practically from the beginning. And that was one, Star Wars is social commentary based on fairy tales and fables of old literature and folklore from bygone years. Two, and this is the most important, George Lucas has one sole purpose with Star Wars and has always had one sole purpose: make as much money off of it as possible. In fact,
merchandising.
The merchandising being key among them. How do you do that? You need things that kids are going to want to buy, that they're going to want. Now the lightsabers are great. Those are a dime a dozen. But what you really need are little stuffed animals, little plushes, little things that you can throw around. What's up, Baby Yoda? Things like that. Oh, people are just I'm getting off on a side tangent here. People are the same people that murdered Star Wars for Wookiee or for Ewoks and Jar Jar Binks and all that. They are absolutely deep throating George Lucas and Disney for Baby Yoda. It's the same thing. I'm sorry. You search your feelings, you know it's true. Anyways, George likes his cute little furry kid stuffed animal shit that he can peddle.
It's what can I market to babies, adults, and old people?
You get that. Star Wars was born from the conflict that was the Vietnam War. That was the whole crux, the backdrop, if you're paying attention to what the original Star Wars was. Well, obviously we didn't have that now. What we had was political drama that grew into the Middle Eastern conflict, which actually helped Star Wars nicely. It just helped to hammer home their point, and that everything was bureaucratically driven. Nothing is ever done for the interest of the common man, but for the politician that has the most stroke at the time. But I digress.
The greatest line is, "This is how democracy dies."
With thunderous applause. Well, enter the bureaucrats, the true power of the republic. But so when you get Empire Strikes Back, which is just doing what the original trilogy did anyways, or not Empire Strikes Back, The Phantom Menace, I apologize, which is just mirroring society at the time, right down to the politicians just putting on a good face and smiling at you as they're lying through their teeth at you on the nightly news. And that's what Phantom Menace was. And people didn't want to accept that. They just wanted the spaceship battles and the save the princess. Well, we'll get to that. We've done that already, but now we've got to get to that again.
And that was the thing with Attack of the Clones, is that it was so politic driven.
The whole thing in Star Wars is politic driven. This is not anything that was new.
No, I know, but what I'm talking about is they could have literally just like taken chunks of 2 and put it at the end of 1 and at the beginning of 3.
One of these days, I'm going to tell you my write up of what I think that the prequel trilogy should have been. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak of it at the end of this once we're done.
I am so down for that, because it's not very often I can have the intelligent conversations with people about Star Wars. They get over the edge about it, and it's like,
but Attack of the Clones, honestly, the only part that I had trouble with was obviously sand. What a lot of people had a problem. Yeah, sand. And my thing on that is while I can't crucify Hayden Christensen, he's only working with what he's been given. I've always said that I just don't see the evolution of this whiny little slaver child that will eventually turn into Darth Hitler. I don't see the connection here. I see his rationale for doing it, but like the Anakin Skywalker to me should, how do I put this? Because obviously Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker are two entirely different entities, but there should be callbacks to Anakin Skywalker in body posture, in the way you deliver verbiage, something. James Earl Jones Darth Vader sounds nothing like the way that Anakin Skywalker would put together a sentence, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I 100% agree.
The voice sounds different, obviously, but I don't care who you are. There are still going to be certain patterns that you, the individual, have. If you decide tomorrow that you're going to be Joe Snuffy and completely be Joe Snuffy, Jesse is still going to bleed through from time to time. It's just inherent.
I just love the Snuffy reference.
Joe Snuffy, you know where I'm coming from with that. Yep. But my point is, outside of at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where he's standing with his arms crossed, we didn't really get much continuity of the growth of Anakin into Darth Vader. And that was always my problem with the prequel trilogies, is that Anakin didn't have enough foreshadowing of Vader.
I feel like the Clone Wars animated series did a really good job of painting some of that picture.
But at that point, the Clone Wars wasn't a thing yet.
No, it wasn't a thing yet. So we were left.
All we had were the movies. So that's where you needed to do your heaviest lifting.
And to a lesser extent, the book series.
But again, they couldn't decide then what was canon and what was not. I love the Death Star book that is now extended universe. I wish that was canon because it's so well done.
Yeah, there were so many of those books that I read that I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Totally not canon.
And I think that's part of the problem people had with 7, 8, and 9 is they heard 7, 8, and 9 were coming, and they immediately went to the Thrawn trilogy and thought, here it is. This is what we're getting. And you got a lot of malcontents that kind of shit talked it and kind of took the knees out from under it before it really got going. And then then Disney did the rest.
So as we're talking about this, I just realized, like, because we know some of our referee buddies are listening to this, I cannot wait for the messages to roll in about them being like, hang on, no, you had this wrong about Star Wars. I'm so waiting
hold on.
for that.
Now, to be fair, a lot of them, it doesn't even need to be Star Wars. They could have they'll just say, all right, hang on, you've got this wrong. Surprise, you know.
I don't think anybody's going to correct us on the Metal Gear thing. I don't think many of our friends in our
no
group.
Some of them pride themselves on being nerds, but they couldn't hang in the cardboard box with us on their best day.
Oh no. I mean to be honest, like we literally just went from a tangent about Metal Gear to Star Wars.
Dog, we've saved the world a number of times. Between you and I, we've saved the world a number of times. Like,
yeah,
let's just be real. But like I said, you get to the Revenge of the Sith, which I think obviously is the best one of the prequel trilogy. You said Duel of the Fates. I liked Battle of the Heroes better. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the final saber battle with Obi-Wan and
the greatest sword fight in the history of film.
That to me was one of the biggest redeeming qualities from the entire prequels.
They set up a house of cards.
Ewan McGregor, to me, Ewan McGregor was Obi-Wan.
He is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And I just the way he portrayed the character, and you could see Anakin's. I mean, you're right. Like, they knew how Darth Vader spoke, so they could have written Hayden's script to kind of fit that. But
they could have brought James Earl Jones in and have him do the scene and say,
And
here's
then
how I
have,
would inflect the words, and then have Hayden match that. So you could at least
oh
get the
man,
speech pattern.
dude, that would have been incredible.
Because
I
let's
think
be,
that could have
James will
that.
never call himself Darth Vader. He calls himself voice effects. James Earl Jones understands Darth Vader better than any person walking on this planet, and I am including George Lucas.
Yeah, because he found a way to make the character, and man,
And yeah, if
I
it were
want to.
me, James Earl Jones would have been on set with Hayden and said, "Look, this is how I would speak to her." And if because James kind of did like Vader's measured, and he's always simmering beneath the surface, but he's keeping it just barely contained, and he's a volcano about to erupt. And I feel like if Hayden Christensen had gone more that route, where it was more slowly delivered and more precise, you know, how can you do this? This is unfair. This is, do it, more like that, instead of a kid that whose mom just took away his Game Boy. You had the source material there and you didn't follow it. Now there will be those who'll say, but if he sounds just like that and then you put the helmet on, then you automatically know who's inside the suit. Bullshit. The galaxy barely knew that Jedi existed as a whole once you got out from the core systems. Some of them didn't even believe the Jedi existed, even in the height of their power, let alone one Jedi. I don't care how famous that Jedi was. The galaxy was too big for everybody to recognize Anakin Skywalker. And then you add the suit. People are not going to pick up his speech pattern like that.
Yeah, but then again, like super nerds are gonna be super nerds
Bring them
and
on. Bring them on.
They're gonna be hypercritical about it. And
come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Come at me.
I can't wait. I can't wait for us to start getting traction and then start getting the, well, first off, let me explain that this was this, and okay.
Except
it's our
for
opinions
it isn't.
about it. Oh,
Except for it isn't, and here's why. But anyways, Revenge of the Sith was, like I said, probably the best of the three. In fact, I think I sent you the meme the other day. I wish people would stop acting like Padme lost the will to live because Anakin broke her heart. She lost the will to live because she realized she'd missed the greatest lightsaber in the history of the galaxy because she was sleeping. So let's just be real here.
That popped me. That popped me pretty fierce, honestly, because it's like, it was pretty sick.
We talked about the prequel trilogy, so we talk about the rest of it. Like 7 didn't upset me. In fact, I was the exact opposite.
Hang on.
What?
I want to bring something up. There was a really interesting theory, and it's very out there, that the reason why Padme died was not because she lost the will to live, was that Palpatine killed her.
Yeah, I've heard that theory.
And it makes more.
It stands to reason that that's what happened in order to give Vader life. It is not a far leap of faith to believe that Palpatine would do that to sustain Vader's life during the operation.
Well, you remember what Palpatine said?
It's ultimate manipulation.
It's like, it seems in your fit of rage that you killed her.
Well, yeah, he was trying to destroy any link to Anakin Skywalker.
And to me, that was when somebody said, oh yeah, Palpatine managed to force kill Padme. And I'm like, that makes more sense than her losing the will to live.
Yeah, and I don't think that they touched. I feel like that is a better overall, because
I
it
feel
just
like there's
puts
a
more.
deleted scene out there that would piece this together that we're
Yeah,
never
if
gonna.
if you had cut in a little bit of Palpatine just over like a crystal or something, and he's, you know, and
Or just him
that.
as he's talking to her, you see him gesturing his hand like he's choking or squeezing something minor, and it would have
Yeah,
been like, oh,
just,
that makes sense.
but we didn't get that,
We
and
didn't get
because
that.
that just puts more heat on him, because
Brother Heel's got to get his heat back.
yeah, you gotta get his shit in, brother. Come on, brother. Because the baby
brother.
face is going over strong in the main. We gotta,
Well,
it's a
that's
swerve, bro. We're gonna swerve them. No one will ever see Darth Vader coming in and becoming Anakin Skywalker. We'll swerve them, bro.
that's the way that I describe it is in A New Hope, the heel, like the babyface gets the count out win because the
Yep.
heel fucking goes to the back. In Empire, the heel gets a dirty win over the babyface, stands triumphant, and then
See, okay, but
the heels were
did the heel
standing.
go over dirty, or did the heel just absolutely overpower the unprepared babyface?
Either or, it's either or. You have the heel standing tall, and then you go into Jedi, and it's the blow off.
More, I feel like it's more the babyface gets that quick holy shit 1 2 3 roll up and bails, and then in the next one he, it's a count out, and then third one you get the turn, you get the double turn here.
I love how we can equate everything in wrestling terms, and
Well, I mean, a
it
lot
makes
of
the most
your,
sense.
again, there's only so many stories you can tell in literature. I think I read that somewhere. There's only like 8 linear stories that you can tell in literature, and it's up to you to manipulate them as best you can to make it unique. But at the end of the day, there's only, it's just like musical scales. Like, I can't play them, but I understand.
The
There's only,
baseline is there.
yeah, there's only so
It's
many
just
notes in a
how
scale.
you weave it together. And it's just,
Exactly.
um, like I said, I'm not really bringing 6, 7, and 8 into this only because it's like, or 7, 8,
I
9.
have a theory on those two, but again, that requires a deeper conversation. We're already closing in on about
Probably an
two
hour and a half
hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't want to go too real long tonight, just
because
because
we got
we
the
have
little
to have
cut.
something for left for tomorrow when we, again, we're gonna plug it. We're talking to Steve Tortorello of Warrior Wrestling, my boss, soon to be your friend, and yeah, so I want to have something left in the tank. But touching on the sequels, um, I came out of 7, and like I was excited because it didn't feel like it was a CGI fest. They had practical effects. There were new characters that I was interested in at first. You had the old characters mixing in, and Harrison Ford finally getting his wish. Which the minute they showed me the bridge, before he even, like, they just did that
I knew it.
establishing shot, I was like, oh,
I
here
knew
we
it was
go.
coming. I
Here
knew it
we
was coming.
go. There's like, yeah, there's only one way he was going to reprise this role. He is not as attached to Han Solo as Carrie and Mark were to their characters, by far. But
There's also the fun theory in that Han is the one that set off the lightsaber, not Kylo.
I haven't heard that yet. But I've also distanced myself, like I said, from 7, 8, and 9. I don't necessarily need to go down the nerd rabbit hole with them like I do 1 through 6, obviously, because right now we are standing on the cusp of Ewan McGregor putting the robes back on and becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi again. Yes.
Hermit Flail, so excited, dude! I'm so stoked for that.
I need Darth Maul, obviously. I need Darth Vader. What if we have a Darth Maul, Darth Vader face
What if Mace
off?
Windu comes back?
Mace Windu obviously can come back. I think because again, you ain't doing Mace Windu like that. I never once believed he was dead. Anyways,
I
falling out the
it was
window. If look in the movie prior, dude freaking jumps out of like a hover car, like 1,000 stories straight down.
Yeah.
to catch a robot. If he can do that without sustaining injury, it's feasible that Mace Windu, one of the most powerful Jedi,
he loses a hand and he gets a little bit of Force lightning.
Yeah, Mace can until you stab and dice and slice the son of a gun, and even Darth Maul will prove that's not even enough.
You gotta count Dooku him.
No one's ever really dead in this. In fact, I fully expected Count Dooku to walk in the main and at one point
Dooku's head on like a little robotic,
the little spider robots. I see, Master Jedi. He's got the Grievous body going.
Oh man, General Grievous was so
wasted, but never to be outdone. Not as wasted as Boba Fett and Darth Maul. Boba Fett and Darth Maul to me are the same exact character for their respective trilogies.
They had a minor amount of screen time, were badass, and got bitch deaths.
I've always said it is somewhat understandable that George Lucas and company could overlook the popularity of Boba Fett. The internet wasn't as big, it wasn't around yet. They didn't have the fan boards. Darth Maul, on the other hand, to be blunt, all one has to do is look at him and realize he was going to be the biggest part of your movie, and you're going to give him a line and a half of dialogue, and you're just going to kill him. Well, kill him at that point. And you're going to give him the coolest toy coming out of the series.
I still have a dual-bladed lightsaber in my closet.
My friend Zoran actually has the exact prop replica of it. I picked that sucker up. I was like, that thing's heavy. And then of course you start thinking, how are they twirling this thing around and manipulating it? That's just dexterity that I just don't have.
So what they used to make some of the lightsaber props were so fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's lightsaber in 2 and 3 is a World War II British grenade that's been the stuff taken out. That's part of the hilt, and it's that thing weighs a ton.
Yeah, but and that even gets me into he's got the Darth Vader, and the actual Vader Sith lightsaber, and I picked that up, and I'm like, this feels like a sledgehammer in your hand, but I grabbed that and I was like, this feels good. I feel this feels like a sword handle. But then he brought home Asajj Ventress's gimmicks and put it together, and I was like, this feels so off balanced and not practical. I wouldn't trust this thing to open up a letter in the mail. Just some of that stuff that you can write. It harkens back to what they said about the dialogue. You can write it, but you can't always act it.
Yep. Man, just so many great things in Star Wars that got thrown away because the next movie we got to come up with something
Peter
else.
Cushing as General Tarkin, Governor Tarkin.
Oh,
but
he was so great at that.
So good.
Such a slime ball.
Hear me fire when ready. If I trust it.
And the fact that any of the scenes that were shot of him from the waist up, he's
wearing flip-flops. Yeah,
he's wearing slippers. It's
so adorable. He's trying to pinch his cheek. You adorable old man.
I've seen people draw funny comics of him telling them fire the Death Star when ready, and he's got little bunny slippers on. It's just the greatest thing. It really sold the character of he doesn't care. It's casual Friday on the Death Star. He's wearing his slippers. So he was a wasted character. I thought Dooku was wasted. Grievous was wasted.
Dooku was unneeded, and not to tease it, but I'll tell you why once we stop recording. But I just felt that you, in theory, should have just had Darth Maul continue until 3.
That's what I mean, is that they killed
Dooku
Darth
wasn't
Maul
needed.
to introduce Dooku, then they killed Dooku to introduce Anakin, essentially.
But it is what it is. But man, we could, if I'm always afraid that if we keep talking, one of us is going to say something and that's going to trigger another, you know,
Yeah, I'm
train
thinking.
route, you know.
I'm
So I'm
thinking.
thinking this is probably good for a snopocalypse extravaganza. Give some people something to listen to at work tomorrow while we put together the real episode.
Yeah. Because I'm sitting here like, oh no, 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 we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
Don't
Let's
talk
just.
about our Simpsons theories, you know.
Oh boy.
And on that note, we are going to cut it off here. Once again, I am Jeremy the Ref, again with my co-host Jesse the Ref. Look us up on all social media platforms at Jeremy or Jesse the Ref. Tune in. We're probably aiming for Saturday. We're going to drop our episode with Steve Tortorello. We're going to talk about all the wonderful things that come with talking to a guest like that. You can use your imagination. Some of it, we're going to try to steer clear of the cookie cutter, though, and try to be a little bit more original with it. You'll see what I mean later. But for now, we're going to bid you a good night and have a pleasant evening.